Welcome to Psychological Explorations with Dr. Michael Axelman and Daniela. We explore the idea of thin slicing that comes from Malcolm Gladwell today and apply this concept to Winnicott's theory and application with the concept transitional object. And we'll answer the question, what does the presence of a transitional object indicate in a developmental history? First, we'll go to Gladwell. He reports thin slicing in his book, Blink, to draw conclusions from small slices of data. And I quote, "It's striking to consider how many different professions have a term for the ability to draw conclusions from small slices of evidence. In the French military, for example, a general is expected to have the power of the glance, the ability to judge the right strategy after just a few seconds of looking at the battlefield." We move now to Winnicott, who draws our attention to the intermediate area of experience between the subjective and the objective. And I quote from Playing in Reality, "I have introduced the terms transitional objects and transitional phenomena for designation of the intermediate area of experience between the thumb and the teddy bear, between oral eroticism and true object relationship, between primary creative activity and projection of what has already been introjected." And I continue, an intermediate area of experiencing to which both internal and external reality both contribute. It shall exist as a resting place for the individual engaged in the perpetual human task of keeping inner and outer reality separate yet interrelated. So we have a mother and an infant, and we have this association with this blankie engaging with the mother. The baby associates over time this object with the mother. And when they're left away from the mother, they can hold the blankie or teddy bear, this objective piece of textile, and regulate their experience by thinking of the mother, the symbol of the mother, while holding the teddy bear. It's both a textile and my teddy, my blankie, what Winnicott refers to right as the first possession. Hatching from the mother, from no distinction between me and not me, towards a budding recognition of the mother as separate and external. The object represents the infant's transition from a state of being merged with the mother to a state of being in relation to the mother as something outside and separate. The child transitions from unity with mother, where the child makes no distinction, right, between me and not me. There's a oneness and then a hatching towards the budding awareness of separateness. And then with that is being connected in a new way. The infant and the mother. And the mother's represented symbolically in the absence of her presence. So we have this profound process in the first year of life where the child is able to use the infant, right, in the first year, a symbol in the service of development. Okay. The infant's capacity to recognize the object as not me, as separate. And they could throw it up in the air and push it up against the wall, stomp on it with their feet. It's something they can engage as a living aspect. And with it comes the infant's capacity to create, think up, devise, originate, produce. And once again, right, it's both just a piece of woven textile and it's my blankie, the subjective aspect, the creative aspect. The initiation of an affectionate type of object relationship. And as we've reported, right, this first use of a symbol. The infant finds, creates this transitional object and utilizes this object, right, to transition from a state of tension, of disappointment, of being unsettled, dysregulated, and holding the blanket and learning how to regulate through the use of this object, this symbol. It's important to note that the absence of a transitional object in a developmental history does not suggest the absence of attachment or absence in the capacity to move to abstraction. Okay, when no transitional object shows up in the developmental history, we cannot draw rapid conclusions with respect to relating and regulation. The infant toddler may be well attached or may be poorly attached. More information needs to be gathered during the developmental history. But what we can see is when we have the presence of a transitional object, right, essentially a creative way for the infant to solve the problem of being moved away from the mother at night and have to sleep through the night in a separate room in a crib by themselves. Right, this is their solution to that problem. So the presence of transitional object, it indicates the capacity to relate and make use of symbols in the service of development. Perhaps most importantly, the presence of a transitional object in a developmental history suggests both a capacity to make use of symbols in the service of self-regulation and the capacity to exist in the world of relationships with whole people. As such, the infant toddler who is experiencing some level of distress can hold on to the transitional object and think about the mother, the symbol of the mother, and come to regulate their experience. This capacity to modulate experience by use of a transitional object, a simple piece of textile representing mother caretaker, initiates the phase of the child being able to think abstractly and creatively and modulate emotional states through the use of symbols. So this very profound push forward, and all of this can be gleaned when you hear a mother or a caretaker say that they have a special blanket, they have a special teddy bear, they have an affectionate relationship with. From that, we can glean so much. In closing, I quote Malcolm Gladwell once again. Our power of thin slicing and snap judgment are extraordinary, but even the giant computer in our unconscious needs a moment to do its work. Thank you for joining us today. Please join us in the future. Take care for now.